Hello everyone, welcome to this ninth video on Google Sheets. In this video, I'll discuss two advanced formulas in Google Sheets. The first one is import range, using which we can pull data from another Google Sheets. And the second one is query, where you can use SQL like queries to select, filter, or summarize your data. And I many a times use this query function to quickly get some results from any data that we receive for analysis. So let's jump into the first function, import range. So before using that, let's look at the documentation of import range function. So if we see here on the documentation page, the syntax is like this. So this function has two arguments. The first one is spreadsheet URL. So URL is this. This is a spreadsheet URL. And the second argument is the range string. So from which range in that particular spreadsheet you want to pull the data from. So if you don't mention the sheet name and if you just put the range, it will automatically pull data from the first sheet, which is there on the spreadsheet. And if you want to specifically pull data from a particular sheet, then this range string, it should be like this: sheet name and then the range. For example, like this. Okay. And also you can use this formula by referring to a cell where the cell contains the URL. Okay. So now for illustration purpose, I have this another Google sheet where we have Disney Plus source data. Again, it is also pulled from Kaggle, and I have access to this particular sheet. So if I have to pull data from this sheet to this particular sheet using import range, I'll write the link of the sheet as the first argument, and then I want to pull data. So there is only one sheet in that particular Google sheet, but still it's best practice to write the sheet name so that it's a habit that you develop and you don't pull wrong data from the first sheet only. So I would suggest and recommend, now always write the sheet name and then the range. So this is the sheet name, dp underscore data, and from there I want to pull values from this range a1 to l5. So if you see here, from a1 to l5, these are the values. So the last one is, this is life, not just fantasy musical, and this is pulled here. So if you initially write the formula in any new sheet, it will request for access to this sheet. So you should have access to that URL. And even if you have access, when you are writing import range function in any new Google sheet, it will ask for access to that particular sheet. So this seems a very simple formula, but it is quite useful when you have to keep a sync between two Google sheets, and then you have to work on the data from one Google sheet into another Google sheet. So there, this function becomes very important. So this is how you can write this. And for example, here it is written like this in this cell. So it is added here as well. Now the next function, very useful, is the query function. So what does this do? So it runs a Google visualization API query language query across the data. So the first argument is the data, the second argument is the query which you want to write, and the third argument is the header. So if you want to specify the number of header rows at the top of the data. Okay. So, and these queries are kind of SQL query. So if you are aware of that, it's great. Otherwise, you can just read about these queries that you can write in Google Sheets from these links. Okay. So here actually you will get more details. So you have these functions which you can use: select, where, group by, pivot, order by, limit, offset, label, format option. We'll just go through a few of these uh, in the video, and I think this is also referring to the same link. Okay, so let's see how we can use it. Now, the first argument of this query is data, and then you want to write some query to pull selective data or to summarize this data. So in import range, we are actually importing a data. So import range can be one of the argument. So data that we are getting using import range, it can be one of the argument in query function as well. So that is being done here in this query import range sheet. So here I am querying the data which is imported using this function, right? So this is the data I'm querying, and here I'm selecting all. So when you write select star, it means select all the columns. Otherwise, you'll have to specify which are the columns you want to select. And where clause is like adding a filter to the data set. And here, in fact, I'm adding two filters. So first one is column 8 should be 2021 and column 2 should be movie. So if you look at the original data set, this column 8, so counting from here 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, this has many values, but I am filtering this data set for 2021 only. And this column 2, which is type, it again has a few different values, but I'm just pulling movie from here. Okay, so if I want to look at the kind of values available here, I go to data and column stats. This also we have discussed earlier. So I can see that there are, in fact, two different values only: movie and TV show. So this is how the data is pulled here. So this is just an example where I am highlighting that query can be used along with import range function to just filter a particular set of data from another Google Sheet. Let's see how else we can use the query function. So as I have shown earlier as well, that in this particular series I am mostly using this COVID data which is available on Kaggle, and I'd be querying this data set in the next few examples. So if you see here, I am querying everything. So I've just written the function here. So it's querying everything, means all the columns, but I'm applying a filter on column J. Now, if you look at the data here, column J is this. So I'm applying a filter on this year column. So you must have observed this difference. So earlier I was just writing as column 1, column 2 like that in this query. But here I am writing it as J equal to 2022. So these are the two different ways in which you can just refer to a particular column while querying. So this query is written here and we are getting the data below. Let's see how we can change this query and see how the results changes. So I'll apply one more filter here and B equal to India. So with this, I'm just getting the rows for India. We can select a few column. So I have mentioned J, B here. What if I select A, B, and D? These three columns only. So you see, only three columns are now selected as an output of this query function. Okay, so select a star means all, and a few particular column if you want to select, you can just write A, B, and C, D like that. What if I add another filter and uh, D is greater than equal to 100,000. So now the number of rows reduced a lot, and everywhere you see the values are greater than 100,000 here. So using query function, if you just want to pull a subset of the data in another location on the same sheet, you can do that. Or even while pulling data from another sheet, query and combination of import range, you can pull a subset of the data only. So here we now got to know how we can apply filters or select a few columns only using query function. Now if we want to summarize the data, so how can we do that? So you can see the query function at the top. So those who are aware of SQL, they must be knowing that whenever you are summarizing, you do group by. Okay, and people familiar with R Python, they also must be aware that whenever we summarize, we use group by. So here also we are using group by. So we are selecting all the data, then we are selecting the columns first on which we want to summarize the data. So we want to get the sum of D columns for each combination of B and I columns. And we have country and year month in B and I columns. So for each combination of country and year month, we want to get the sum of values present in column D. And when you summarize the data in group by, other than the column on which you are doing some kind of summarization, so here we are doing it on column D, the rest of the column should be mentioned after this group by function. So when you mention this group by, after that these two columns should be mentioned. So you see here it is select bi sum d where j equal to 2022, and again we are not summarizing on the whole data, we are summarizing on the filtered data only. Okay, group by b and I. Now what if I add another condition here? So I want to get this summary for one country only, to Brazil. You see, the output is for Brazil only. What if I want to summarize at a country level only? I don't want it to be summarized for every month. So I'll remove this I, okay, and I would remove this filter from B as well. I want to get values for all the countries. And as I have removed the column I remove it from group by as well. So for all the different countries, sum of daily new cases is now the output here. Okay, so this is how we can summarize the data. Now, I'll just go back to the output which was there earlier. So now this is an output. Okay, this is the output which we have seen earlier. What if we want to sort this data? So for each country, I want the data to be sorted by sum of daily new cases. Okay, so I can do that, or I can just sort for sum of daily new cases as well. So here, if you see, it is just sorted for daily new cases. So if you see the query written here, select BI. So we are selecting these two columns, country and the year month, sum of D, sum of daily new cases for year 2022, and then we are grouping it by country and year month. But find at the end we are adding this order by. So by default, order by will order in ascending order, and if you have to order it in descending order, you'll have to write DESC. So it's the output here is sorted in descending order, and if I remove this DESC here, it will sort it in ascending order. Okay, and what if I want to sort by country, and then this sum of the daily new cases. So I'll in order I'll write order by B and sum D. So B comma sum D. So here, if you see the output, first it is sorting by the country name, and then it is sorting by sum of daily new cases in ascending order. So B comes first. So B is there, and this value is the lowest, so it is at the top. What if I want to sort country in ascending but sum of D in descending? So I just have to add DSC after this. Okay, so now the result is like this. So here you have seen how we can sort the data. Now, if you want to get a pivoted result, so this kind of result, if you want to get a pivot out of this, so here we have the values for each country and year month combination, but we want to pivot the year month here. Okay, so this can be done by writing pivot I. So in the query here, I'm selecting column B only because I want to pivot on column I, right? Because at the end it is written pivot I. This I column removes from select as well, group by as well. So it's select B, and I want to get sum of D, sum of daily new cases, where the year is 2022, group by B only, and pivot the result on I. So with this command, this query, you get the result in this format, in pivoted format. Okay. So here you can change maybe this to 2021. Okay, but I'm getting an error here because there are no cells available on the right. So maybe I'll have to apply some other filters as well. Okay. So let's select 2022 only to get the results. But yeah, let's do this below. So if I just write this function formula with 2021, see, you can get the results like this. Okay, so for all the countries, for all the months in 2021, we are getting this result, sum of the values in column D. Okay. Now, these names that you get by default doesn't look okay. So if you want to present this, if you want to share these results with someone else, these names may not make much sense. Some, and it comes by default, some daily new cases like that. So if you want to change the names, you can do it using label. Okay, so here, if you look at the formula written here in this query function, select bi, sum d, count of d as well. So I just want to look at the number of days for this country and year month combination, where j or year is 2022, group by bi, and at the end, by using this label function, I'm just renaming sum d to total new cases and count d to total days. Okay, so there is no comma in between, so you write label the column which you want to label as something new, and then the new name, and then comma, then another column which you want to rename it, and the new name for that column. So you see the result here. So what if I remove this label part from here? So if I just remove it, the result is like this: sum daily new cases and count daily new cases, which doesn't look great. But if I just add label here, label sum d, total new cases, and count d as total days, we can see the difference that these names are changed. So in this way, we can rename the columns as well. And the next one is, what if you want to again sort the data, but maybe not in the query itself. Later on, you want to apply a query on a query that you have already written, or the output of another query. So that also you can do. So here in this query, I'm just using this data set AI to AL27. Okay, I'm referring to this summarized data set, and then I'm writing another query to just sort by these columns. So when I'm referring to this data set and sorting, I'm referring to the columns as column 1, column 3. So it's sorting on column 1 ascending and column 3 descending. So this way also you can write a query on query result as well. Okay. Now the next part is, again, it's related to query function. But here, what you can do in the query function, you can refer to a particular cell. So it's pretty simple. I'm selecting all the columns where year is the value present in cell G1, and G1 is frozen. So to write that, you will write like this. So this is the cell, or the range on which I want to apply this query function. Then I am writing select star where j equal to. So there, after this, I am just kind of concatenating the value from G1. Okay. So where j equal to the value from G1, and because I am referring to one cell, it's all frozen. So $G $1. So here we have this output. We have the data for 2021. What if I want to get the data for 2022? So I'll write 2022 here and enter, and this query function will operate. And now I have results for 2022 only. Okay. So this way also you can add a drop down, or you can refer to a cell in the query function, and with change in values in that cell, you can get the result. Now we can query results from pivot as well. So if you see, there is a pivot created here, and we have already discussed creating pivots in Google Sheet in detail in one of the earlier videos. And we can query the result as well from pivot in another sheet. So you can see the result here in this sheet. Just querying all the data available in the range from A to G. So these two functions that we discussed today are very important, especially import range when you need data from another Google Sheet, and query if you are familiar with SQL and you want to use that knowledge while summarizing the data in Google Sheets. So that's all in this video. Do subscribe my channel and share this video with others if you like it. See you in the next video. Thank you.